What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video. Or in this one, I'm going to talk a little bit about something different, right? Just wanted to go see, because I feel like we've talked about so many different things that really there is to talk about as Colts fans, right? So much of, what we are going to depend on in 2025 hinges on the quarterback. We've already talked so much about it. I don't want to just continue to, beat a dead horse and, just to throw a video up. So I went to Twitter and I asked Grok, what are Colts fans talking about, right? And got a couple different things and some things we've talked about recently, some other things that, don't really care to put that in a video right now. But there was one thing I saw. I thought, let's talk about this. And it's team direction and identity. Here's what Grok had to say about Colts fans and what Grok is seeing Colts fans talk about. What looks like on Reddit, probably. And of course, if you enjoy this content, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. But again, this is team direction and identity. And it says there's a sense of disillusionment among Colts fans, or among some fans, with Reddit posts labeling the Colts a, quote, poverty franchise due to a perceived lack of vision. Fans are grappling with the team's mediocrity since Andrew Luck's retirement, with discussions about whether the current roster and coaching staff can return the Colts to Super Bowl contention. And I felt like this is a good one to talk about because it's true. It is true. It's something that we've talked about here on this channel in the past, especially like for me. I used to be like a Chris Ballard apologist, Chris Ballard defender, right? Because he was put in a terrible situation. Him and Frank Reich too. They both came here thinking they were going to have Andrew Luck for the long term. Ends up not being the case, right? Dream scenario turns into a nightmare. And so I gave a lot of excuses, right? And eventually had to stop that because the disillusionment just had gotten too deep. It had gone too deep. I had to stop lying to myself. And with there being a sense of disillusionment among some fans, I think there's also the side of the other, right? With one extreme, you get another, saying we're a poverty franchise. Now, over the past few years, the joke of what we've been since Carson Wentz was here, kind of been a poverty franchise, right? The lack of vision, I think, is a really good note that Grok put in here, to be honest with you, right? The perceived lack of vision couldn't be any more true, which is why I like Shane Steichen, and it's why I'm glad Gus Bradley's not here. I think getting a different vision, getting an updated vision, and knowing that we're going to have a vision that is willing to change. And I think that's a good thing, being willing to change and being okay with that, and getting a new vision coming in is something that I think is going to prove massive dividends for the defense. And I think the defense, think about the personalities this Colts team has on defense. I think getting a new identity and a fresh outlook on defense and having the defense lead the way for this team, I think is actually going to be where we find success. So I think, adding some new pieces to the defensive staff, adding some new pieces to the defense, and adding a new defensive philosophy is going to be exactly what this team needs, right? When you think about the offense and all the stars of what could be on offense, right? From Anthony Richardson to Jonathan Taylor to, of course, behind him, Khalil Herbert as a really good number 2 back, to Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, the potential of what A.D. Mitchell could be. Now you have Tyler Warren thrown into the mix, right? The offensive lineman. I just think offensively, for what you have in star power, the defense at almost every spot can have a guy that's a potential Pro Bowler, a guy that's a potential All-Pro, right? You think about the front four that we have. Assuming it ends up being JTT, it'll probably be Sampson and Quiddy that you throw into there. But JTT and what his future is going to be. But Latu, Grove, of course, Defoe, Zaire Franklin. What can Jalen Carlisle be? What kind of weapon can he be for the defense? Then in the secondary, Jalen Jones and what he's becoming. Charvarius Ward, Kenny Moore, Nick Cross, and how good he was last year and what he could potentially continue to become. And then combine them, like that defense is just filled with so much talent, dude. The amount, the level at which that defense can really lead the way for this team, I think can't be understated. I think even on special teams, our best special teamers outside of Ashton Doolin typically are defensive guys. So going forward, man, I think that was really the big thing that I saw in this Grok explanation: the lack of vision and the changing of the guard. Right? You hear it all the time. The changing of the guard from that regard is something that I think going to prove massive dividends for the Colts in 2025. And then, of course, grappling with the team's mediocrity since Luck's retirement. Of course, we've talked so much about that with discussions about whether the current roster and coaching staff can return the Colts to Super Bowl contention. Of course, that's the main question. Can this roster, can this coaching staff get it done? And that's going to continue to be the massive question. Now, of course, as we speculate on that, with the coaching staff that we have now, right, the pieces that we've changed out, right, I love our offensive coaching staff, and what we did defensively, really enjoyed. Now, there's some pieces on that defensive coaching staff that stuck around. That's going to be interesting to see. Do certain parts of this defense maybe stay a little bit too much of the same? Are we not getting enough out of the front seven or out of the front four? Right, that defensive front, I'm going to be watching them heavy to see, do our coaches on the defensive line, are they getting the job done or not? And what needs to change as we continue to evolve and go forward. But I feel really good, honestly, about the coaches that we have on both sides of the ball. I'm really more sketchy on special teams. I believe Brian Mason, if I'm not mistaken, is the coach there for special teams. Don't hold me to that. It's late right now. As I'm recording this, I'm not looking at our coaches right now. But special teams has to be better. The performance that we put out last year, really over the last couple years, has not been good enough. Since Bubba left, sharp downhill. And I attribute a lot of that to coaching because the personnel has been largely the same. So coaching has to be better there. We have to find an answer on special teams and really make sure as we get into the 2025 season, all three phases have to be solidified. Again, offensively and defensively, I feel confident about us going forward. Anthony Richardson, of course, the quarterbacks are going to prove large in what success we're able to have. But I think offensively, defensively, there are a lot of good things that the Colts have done this offseason specifically to get better. And if you didn't see our last video about the Colts finessing the NFL, talking about what we did this offseason, why I feel so good about us this season, go ahead and check that video out as well. If you enjoy the content coming out, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime we drop any content on this channel. Of course, appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.